Bob Moyer asks, what's your favorite game series versus your worst game series? Great question. Favorite game series, it's hard for me to pick. You know, when people say, what's your favorite movie? I can say, oh, Back to the Future. But then there's also Empire Strikes Back. And then there's also, you know, Goodfellas. And there's also Glengarry Glen Ross. And there's Ghostbusters. So it's always hard for me to pick an absolute favorite. But I will say, Dragon Warrior, the Dragon Quest series. For me, it was Dragon Warrior, then Dragon Warrior 2. It was a game I became obsessed with. I snuck into my parents' attic during the Christmas season when they got it for me, and it was sitting there, and I skipped school to stay home and sneak into my attic to unbox it and to read the manual because I was so obsessed with playing Dragon Warrior 2 after I beat Dragon Warrior 1. I couldn't wait for it. And then, of course, the entire series, getting to play Dragon Warrior 3 and 4, and on. Very excited about the next versions of Dragon Warrior. So yeah, the Dragon Warrior series for me will always be Dragon Warrior in my heart, even though it's Dragon Quest, you know, in Japan, but absolutely love the Dragon Warrior series. But I've fallen in love with, in the recent years, if you've watched my channel, you know there was a huge gap in my gaming history, right, where I didn't get to play the Uncharted games. I didn't get to play Metal Gear Solid. I don't know what I was doing for that 15 years of time, or I just missed some of these games, you know? And so recently I've gone back and I've been playing Metal Gear, and I've fallen in love with this series. This is quickly becoming my favorite series, maybe is my favorite series of all time. The story is amazing. It's perhaps more relevant now than ever before. Watch my full video where I played 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back. I just bought Metal Gear Solid 4. I can't wait to play that. I also got as one of my pickups at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo a Metal Gear game that I'll tell you about in that video coming up. And also, I've fallen in love with the Xenoblade series. I this year played Xenoblade 1, and I thought it was one of the greatest RPG storylines ever. Unbelievable story. And people have told me that it only gets better, that 3 is the best. So I have that to look forward to in that series as well. So again, those series I've fallen in love with. Oh, I forgot the Uncharted series. This is another series that I played 1, 2, and 3 this year and fell in love with that series as well. So
you act like you've never seen a German U-boat in the middle of the jungle before.
Yeah, I'm falling in love with a lot of series lately. A lot of great storylines, to be sure. But in terms of worst series, the thing is, like, if I didn't like a series, I'm not going to play more games in that series because it just didn't hit right for me. But there are a few, you know, I remember in high school, everyone talking about the Leisure Suit Larry games on the PC. So my friend like made me a couple of whatever the floppy disks, and I played a Leisure Suit Larry game, and you know, it was supposed to be like adult content, and I just it always just felt like sleazy to me, and I never got into it. I was not into that. I found it to be kind of boring, hokey, and the story. Anyway, I was not into that. So the Leisure Suit Larry series, I never continued. And I know I'm going to say something that's probably going to piss a lot of people off. I played Grand Theft Auto back in the day, and I don't know, it just didn't hit right with me. And I never became obsessed with the Grand Theft Auto series. And I know everyone's so excited for GTA 6. They cannot wait. Oh, their minds are going to explode. And maybe I'll give it another shot.
Ah, here we go again.
But that was a series that just never really clicked for me. You know, going around and like beating up police officers was never something that I was interested in. But I am one to challenge authority, but it was like a bridge too far for me. And I don't know, it just didn't click for me. That's not to disparage anybody who loves GTA. I know there's a lot of fans out there, one of the biggest video game series of all time. So that was one that just never really clicked for me. So yeah, I would say those two. So if you couldn't already guess, today is our Q&A episode because we just turned 50,000 subscribers. So I want to do a special episode. Anytime we turn some of these big milestones, I just want to hang out with the community and take some of your questions. So thank you all for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. I can't believe 50,000 subscribers here on my gaming channel. Great to see all of that. So yeah, a lot of great questions you guys have fired up, and I posted in the community, and then you were able to ask me some questions there. Like Timothy says, congratulations on reaching 50,000 subscribers, Clayton. I remember seeing an acoustic guitar in the background of at least one of your old videos. I was wondering about your history as a musician, whether you picked it up recently or not. I would love to hear about it if you're willing. Thank you for all your content. Keep up your amazing work on this channel as well as your other work. Thank you so much, Timothy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I played guitar since I was young. The first instrument I learned how to play was the piano, and then started playing saxophone in school, in band, in elementary school, and all the way up play tenor sax and alto sax, but really fell in love with the guitar. So I've played it on and off, took lessons many, many years ago, and I kind of pick it up when I feel compelled to. So playing a lot of singer-songwriter stuff over the years, like in, Electric Light Orchestra to Pink Floyd, Beatles songs, things like that. So, and I find that it transports me, and I can just sit there and it takes me to like some of my friends will sit and draw for hours, and it's just kind of meditative, right? It takes you away from this crazy world, just like playing video games can. But yeah, sitting there playing guitar, working on a song for a long time has been a real blast. So yeah, I don't play it as much as I should because I've been so busy, but love music, love playing guitar. I like this question from Travis XX111 or 23, I guess. I'm so curious about your story, Clayton. You're an anomaly when it comes to being a gamer in your demographic. Would have assumed you're a guy in corporate sales if I saw you walking down the street, LOL. No, I would never. That's the thing. I used to work for somebody else many, many years ago. I worked for myself. I couldn't imagine ever being in corporate sales. No. Yeah, I've been a gamer since I was a little kid, since my dad first brought Pong home, and we were the first people to have a computer in the whole neighborhood. My dad learned how to write basic code, to write spreadsheets or whatever it was for data processing for his meat business, his meat management business back in the day. So he brought Pong home, and then the Atari 2600. And so I've been a gamer since I was a kid. I talk about it here on the channel. I had about 10 to 15 year window there where I had my firstborn son and kind of stopped gaming, or just a little bit here and there, but mostly didn't really play a lot of games during like the Game Boy Advance era and all of that. So yeah, it's been exciting for me to get back into it, and I've been enjoying it now that I have 3 kids and they're a little bit older now, and I've kind of gotten into a groove, and I can thoroughly get into a pattern of playing games. So I guess I don't look like a corporate sales guy, but I am a gamer. And as someone posted in a comment, Jolly Green responded, said, gamers come in all shapes and sizes, my friend. Exactly, they do. Exactly. All right, the next question comes from Prida Crow. I'm glad I came across your channel. It's nice to see a regular person with a family and kids and how you play together. I'm a father myself. I have a son with autism and hope that one day he'll be able to play video games with me. I hope so as well. What I might ask you is this: which is your favorite console? Mine is the SNES, and the Switch is a close second. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. I have to say, yes, my favorite console back in the day was the NES. That's the thing that really got me into gaming. Took things to the stratosphere, whether I was playing Metroid or Kid Icarus or Super Mario Brothers or Punch-Out or Rygar or, you name it, right? That was the system that changed everything for me. So I have a nostalgic soft spot for the NES, classic NES games. However, I will say that today, the Nintendo Switch to me is the ultimate console. I mean, from an RPG perspective, it's the greatest console for RPGs. Now you might be saying, oh no, the PC or Steam Deck is great because it's all, no, I'm talking physical copies of games, right? The Nintendo Switch is amazing, unbelievable. And is it the most powerful system in the world? Of course not. But the game catalog is incredible. The ability for me to just pick up and jump on an airplane and play a few hours of a game, then jump over and read my book, and then go back to playing my game, or sit in bed and play my Nintendo Switch, and then put it up on my big TV and play with my Pro Controller, Tears of the Kingdom, and see that environment. It's remarkable. It really is. So I think the Nintendo Switch is probably my favorite console. That's why I'm so excited about the Switch 2, because with the backwards compatibility, Switch 2 now just opens up an entire world. It becomes, to me, the ultimate RPG machine. So because with the back catalog of the Switch 1 games being backwards compatible, this thing is going to be a beast. Unbelievable. I can't wait for the Switch 2. I'm really, really excited about that. So yeah, I would have to say the Nintendo Switch has dethroned my NES as my favorite system of all time. So I posted a picture here from the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, myself, Johnny Millennium, from the Happy Console Gamer Show. I'm sure many of you are already subscribed to Johnny's channel, an amazing channel. And so that's why I want to give you some context for this question from Rip Heckenens asks, hey, I love Johnny Millennium. He introduced me to the E-Series and a lot of other stuff. How did you guys meet? And honestly, over the past couple of years, we started talking just through the internet and just became friendly that way. And then started talking more regularly and realized, well, we have a lot in common. And if we grew up down the street from each other, we would have been like best friends, It reminds me of like that Step Brothers scene, It's like, did we just become best friends?
Did we just become best friends? Yep!
You know, like that's kind of how, and as you know, I have to say, as guys, as adult men, it's hard for us to like meet good friends. You know, you're in your pattern with your families and so forth. And for men, you have maybe your childhood friends, and they may or may not be that good. You know, they might not be the type of friend you would meet when you're in your 30s and you're more mature and you know more about yourself, you know. And so it's great to have become great friends with someone who I have a lot of respect for, and we see eye to eye on so many things, and not just games, you know, family, life, and everything else. All right, Gamer for Life asks, when did you start gaming? Was it first in the arcades, the PC, or the console? So I first started gaming when my dad brought Pong home. We lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey at the time, just outside of Philadelphia, and I remember that night how he hooked it up to the television, and we were like laying on the carpet playing Pong. And then from there it was the Atari 2600, and then yes, going to the arcades with my friends when I lived in Pennsylvania. Growing up in Pennsylvania, my friend Ben and I would go to the arcades at the Berkshire Mall, and it was an unbelievable experience to go in there and play Afterburner and to play Rampart and all of these classic games from Street Fighter, you name it, and just, you know, the X-Men arcade cabinets and all of those things, right? And just had an absolute blast doing that. But as I mentioned earlier, like the Nintendo and you know, the NES, having that home console experience where you get these full games just in your home, in your living room, was just transportive. And you know, sky's the limit from there. But yeah, it really started with that home console experience. My dad with Pong and all, you know, having the paddles, playing the paddles on the Atari 2600, playing Berserk and Adventure and all of those classic Atari 2600 games that I fell in love with. Defender, you know, what, Stargate was another one. I'm just thinking about all the games in my brain that I played so much of, you know, on the Atari 2600. All right, here's a question about woke video games. I love this because, you know, I can't stand the woke agenda. Right now, Engineer of the Machine asks, my question, how can these companies, both video game and film studios, afford to keep putting out woke flop after flop? At what point do they throw their hands in the air and say, F this? I love that. Right, because I was just, you know, talking all about Dragon Age, the Veil Guard. You know, I did a whole video on how, you know, this woke piece of garbage, like, stay away, keep this video game away from your children. You know, the indoctrination in there is just disgusting. And they want to push like all of this mental illness and gender ideology stuff on our children, and they want to push their politics on us. No, I want to play video games. Keep your woke agenda out of my video games, okay? I don't play high fantasy, so you can show me surgery top scars where people are having like parts of their body removed right now, because that's becoming normalized in the West. It's disgusting. Keep it out of here, right? Anyway, don't get me on a rant. How can these companies keep doing this? Well, they can't. The answer is they can't. Have you noticed what Disney has had to do? They just had to lay off thousands of people, because it turns out people don't want to watch this stuff. You're catering to like 0.001%, not even that, probably like a tenth of one. No, even smaller than that. You're literally catering to an entirely small little category of woke individuals, and you're literally changing your entire product to do this. I don't think it's sustainable at all, and you're seeing a lot of companies having to lay off a lot of people. People aren't watching your movies. People aren't going to your woke films. Pixar and Disney, they're not doing it, and they're staying home. And it's being reflected in, you know, streaming series. We just saw what happened with the Star Wars universe right now. People didn't want to watch any of that stuff. We're seeing what's happening with Star Wars Outlaws. So the answer is we are answering with our wallets. And people are saying, I'm not spending my money on this, and I'm not going to have my kids watching this stuff. And I think a lot of companies are now really paying attention to this, and it's going to come back in a big way. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with Dragon Age, the Veil Guard, with this whole backlash against that, and can BioWare really survive this? And we'll see if other games do this as well, or they walk this back. But a lot of companies now are waking up to this, and we saw what happened with Bud Light. We've seen, you know, Harley Davidson. We've seen what happened with John Deere, and all these companies that do this DEI garbage. Guess what happens? People stop buying your stuff, and your company starts to tank, and you have to lay off thousands of people, or you're going bankrupt as a result of it. So I don't think it's sustainable. That's why I'm glad, you know, like Nintendo has really stayed away from this. Nintendo and a lot of Japanese companies have not given in to the woke agenda, and I'm hoping that they stay that way. But of course, a lot of these Japanese companies have American arms as well, and that's influencing what they're doing. So I don't know. I hope it stays away from a lot of my Japanese RPGs. I hope it stays away from Nintendo as long as possible. Yeah, fingers crossed. So thank you guys for the great questions. I really appreciate it. Were there any other good questions here? Jared North says, hey, tell us your top 5 retro games and the top 10 of all your all-time favorite non-retro games. You know what? Maybe I'll do a full video on that because I don't want to take up too much of your time going through a top 10 list here, but I'll give you, how about top 3 of my favorite retro games. I'll start with Metroid Prime Remastered. Metroid Prime, unbelievable game. I never had a chance to play it back in the day, but when Nintendo remastered this game just recently, last year or so, unbelievable. I can't believe I missed Metroid. I love the Metroid series, and I can't believe I missed Metroid Prime. So I was always, played Metroid Dread, the original Metroid, and Super Metroid, but never played the Prime series. So unbelievable game. Sits at the top of my list for most amazing retro games of all time. Recently, last Halloween, I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Holy smokes. Like, now I get what all the hubbub is about with this game. The soundtrack is amazing. The gameplay is hilarious and fun. It is just an absolute joy of an experience and a world. I was thinking about it today, actually. It was a little chilly in the air here, Halloween time. I was like, maybe I should play Symphony of the Night again. Like, no, Clayton, you've got a lot of other games to play. You've got a lot of other Castlevania games to catch up on, but Symphony of the Night is unbelievable. And then if you want to go back to the original NES, look, I just have such a soft spot for Metroid. Metroid, to me, it was the first game I ever beat, the original Metroid. To beat Mother Brain was an unbelievable experience. I remember that air-conditioned day when I was in the basement playing it. I could finally beat, Mother Brain, and boom, 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 it started exploding. And I couldn't believe it. I threw the controller up in the air and then realized the game's not over yet. You have to escape on top of it, So, yeah, Metroid just sits a soft spot for me. But there's many more I could talk about. I could talk about Metal Gear Solid 1, which I recently played and fell in love with. Talk about a retro experience that's, second to none. So, yeah, that's a pretty good list there. But anyway, I think I've taken up enough of your time, guys. Thank you all for your great questions. Here, we'll do more Q&A episodes as we progress. Maybe I'll do them monthly. Let me know down below if you'd want to see more of a Q&A episode monthly rather than waiting for these sort of big subscriber milestones. We'll see. I'm happy to do that. But thank you guys so much for subscribing and being a part of my community here. And, I just want to come in and talk about games. The other channel that I have, where I cover daily news and all of that, it can be a little heavy, and it can really weigh on your brain. So to be able to come here and hang out with you guys and talk video games is an absolute treat and really one of the highlights of my week. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time, everyone.